Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Time to practice here at the clavichord with Beethoven in the framework of the Beethoven project, where I'm about to start in a few months recording 60 solo works by Beethoven on 22 CDs. I'll give you more details in future videos. So today we're diving into some of the variations for the first CD, just practicing them, sharing with you some first impressions, because it's a really brand new work for me. And the reason for these practicing sessions is just to give you an opportunity to share or to witness, to be together with me along this journey in the preparation of all of that music, because it's really a lot of music to be studied, and honestly it feels great. So this session, in case you would wonder, is not live. It has been pre-recorded, but it's premiered, so you'll have the option of the chat, as I know that many of you really enjoy hanging out in the chat with each other while we're doing these live streams. So with the premieres, it's not live. I'm not here sitting at the clavichord right now. I mean, I'm sitting at the clavichord here right now, but not right now when this will air. So that's complicated and simple at the same time. So these practicing sessions, whenever I'm not here, as is the case tonight, I will try to record these sessions for you and just air them or just upload them as premieres. So that's a mid between the live streams and a recording session. As for the next ones, next week I will do the same thing, because Anja and I and the kids, we are heading towards the north of the Netherlands, as we do every year, to just spend a few days there with our fort. So our little family in a place called Zuideroog, which is wonderful because there is nothing to see and to do. It's only nature and a small swimming pool, and that's everything the kids need. And we're looking very much forward to that. Spent a lot of time in preparation for the Beethoven project now, with the piano and everything around that. So that's all for after our holiday. I'm going to share the full details of that Beethoven project in many videos. I can promise that to you. So today we'll dive into the variations that will go on CD number 1. So the whole framework is set around the sonatas chronologically, and the other works that are of importance, most of them actually have been included. I took the list of Carl Czerny, added some works to that, and so we came to 60 works. So we'll be chronologically more or less. So the sonatas will go chronologically, and around that I just have built some, what I hope are nice programs for a CD. About vinyl we'll talk later. That's another project on its own. So this is variation 8 Variationen über das Thema une fièvre brûlante. So written in 1796 by Beethoven. I'm actually wondering if it's CD 1 or 2. It's CD number 1, but anyway, it's one of the earlier productions, so to say. The wonderful thing about, I've doubted a long time if I would include a lot of other solo works on this production, and not only focus on the sonatas or maybe even the major ones, but I decided to go the full cycle, so to have everything involved, and I'm so happy with that, because variations like these, they are brilliant, up to a level that Mozart could have written those. I mean, and I'm sure Beethoven would take this as a compliment. Remember, this is really early on in his career. He was only in his early 20s. But he does some astonishing things. But connect that to the sonatas, which we all know much better. I guess many of you have never heard this variation. I mean, yeah, you hear Authentic Sound. I underestimate you constantly, so I guess a lot of you have heard. But in general, not a lot of people know these variations, me included. I'm just discovering them now, and it's wonderful to see how pieces that are composed at the same time give a total different atmosphere. And so that's happening with these variations when you connect them to those sonatas. And second thing, deciding to play works that fit the clavichord well on the clavichord is a decision I'm also really excited about, because a lot of these early works give, the clavichord gives a special character to them. It's like those miniaturistic paintings. The clavichord enhances all those effects. So there's a lot more to say about the Beethoven project, but let's just dive into these variations here. By the way, I'm recording this with the same setup as I used for my live stream. I'm testing this out. So if the image quality or the sound quality is a little bit less than regular videos that you expect me, leave me in the comment section what you think about this. But I'm looking for a really easy setup for which I don't have to worry about my camera switching off after 29 minutes or anything. Just everything is being recorded directly on the computer now. The only thing I'm going to do now is, after finish this recording session, upload this file to YouTube, and without editing. That saves me a lot of work, and so it makes it possible to share these sessions with you just by letting go a little bit very high quality demands on sound and image. But I think that it's okay. So, but just let me know. Okay, again, this is brand new. I made correction of the fingerings. I will make some videos on the Wiener Urtext edition, what my impressions are, certainly in respect to the fingerings, because there is a lot that we can say about it. And I will also make some practicing session where I do go through that fingering of the Wiener Urtext, and so discussing all kinds of things that is interesting to discuss. But for now, just let's dive into the music. So there is no metronome mark here. No one gave ever a single tempo indication, at least as I know, and it's not an IMSLP, it's nothing that I have. I don't think Lorenz has any of those, and that's great for a change, because now it's easier, because you are not bound. Well, are we bound to those metronome numbers? You know what my philosophy is there, but it gives a different perspective of searching the right balance, quote unquote right, on your own. What I will do, however, is after I finish the piece in some weeks or months, or I feel it has all settled down, is try to compare this to similar works that do have metronome numbers and see how close or how far I came from those. That's really exciting. So difficult thing is, here we start with a kind of longer notes that develop into faster notes. So the theme is about like this. And so on. So again, guys, this is new music for me. I'm just going through this music together with you as if you weren't here. So you will hear me doing a lot of stupid things and certainly make a lot of mistakes, because I'm not really sight reading. Again, I prepared the fingerings, but it's new for me to read the music together with the fingerings and then try to imagine a certain direction that I want to take this piece into. So this is rough material. Don't consider this to be a finished recording, because it is not. What I will do now is just go through some variations and see what the natural tempo would look to me. It's 3/4. There's nothing really special that happens. You have 8th notes in the first variation, triplets in the second one, 16th notes in the third one. It's a very normal 3/4 pattern, not like you will have, for instance, in the F minor Adagio, first sonata, You have, I think, also 3, 4, but there you have a very elaborated notation with 30-second notes, with trills, with things like that, ornaments on very small note values. So that all influences tempo in a way that you almost count in 8, if not in 16 notes. But here, as far as I can see, there is nothing really special, which is, and then he changes to 2/4, we're not there yet. So I try a kind of normal, it's an allegretto tempo, so somewhat faster than 60 for the quarter note. Let's try, just try. That's a beautiful sentence, by the way. If I see things like this, such I'm very much aware, because you need time to sing here. And by the way, I'm just playing the clavichord now after having played the piano, so it's always a little bit, people ask me that, if it's easy to go from the pianoforte to the clavichord and vice versa. I made some remarks in the past. It's very difficult to go from the clavichord to the irar, which is now over there. It's not anymore here because we expect a new pianoforte. But it's much closer, the pianoforte, to the clavichord, but still there is some time that I need. It's also, I will make some videos about that. It might be interesting to share my experience on that. So here, so I need time there. I want to have time there. Let me rephrase it. So the theme would sound in this tempo tone. Let's see if this tempo works for the rest. That's not easy. So for that time, this was rather new. Reminds me of Mozart, this one. Mozart has this as a variation, an F major, I think. I think it's on my channel, but that's similar, really Mozart-like. So this is okay. Let's see. Drill on 16 notes. So yeah, I think this is a quite okay tempo. Where is my historical metronome here? Let's check here. I'm around 80, 82, which would be kind of allegro tempo actually, more than an allegretto. And here, these forzando, they work great on the clavichord. You can, but you have to be careful when you do that with the repeated note, which happens sometimes, because if you really exaggerate, giving the accent raises the pitch, and if you repeat the same note right after, it feels awkward like this. The pitch comes down, and so at the beginning I need to be careful. But here I can, nobody will notice that. Check here again, because I've noticed when I leave my Bluetooth on the phone, it connects to that little mixing console, and sometimes I don't hear my metronome, but you'll hear it on the video, which is kind of weird. So let's try not to be faster than this, because yeah, 82, 84 is still in my mind for a normal 3/4. 3/4 has a tendency to be a little bit faster than 4/4, I have the impression. So yeah, allegretto still on the edge, but let's not try to be too hard on us right now, because also we have at the beginning these long notes. We should not try to play them faster in a way that they are more fluent. That's not why Beethoven used half notes and quarter notes to start. It's meant to be a kind of static performance there, that the piece develops later, but still there should be a balance. Let's try the minore section here, which is quite nice actually. Okay, maggiore. So forte, and then piano. That's not easy. So trills with the upper note or with the main note, that will remain an eternal discussion with this music, because you are on the edge where things change and people kept the tradition, and even within a lifetime on their own changed. Like at the end, I mean the end of Czerny's life, or the end of, let's say, Czerny evolved definitely to a practice with main note trills, and he applied that for Beethoven as well. Why you could say this early 18th century, I mean, it's not early 18th century, but it's early music, still in the 18th century for Beethoven. Who will tell? It's hard. So yeah, I just try something with main note. I will see how we come. Oh, maybe upper note. Let's try. Upper note is it. Main note. Maybe a little bit less stressy. Those are difficult drills to really make expressive. Better. I like that. I liked what happened here at the end. And so I'll take my metronome, not to check if I still have that 84, but something happened here which I liked in terms of atmosphere and character, and also with details. You need some time there, and so I like this lyrical thing. So let's see what tempo I have. Okay, interesting. I slowed down to 72 to 74, which is right into the allegretto tempo. Now, do you have to play every variation the same tempo? I would say certainly of course, when the time signatures change, like here, with the new Italian tempo words, of course not. That's obvious. For the rest, for these early kind of sonata variations, I like when they are played in one tempo. You get, as a listener, then more this feeling of a unity of the whole series of variations. Is it really something that they back then always did? I don't think so. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's not black and white here. For instance, you have these variations of Beethoven. Their Czerny gives for each variation a new metronome mark, while in the notation there is not really something that changes. Though I must say, he goes from 80 to 88 to 84, so he to 100 sometimes, so he remains in a certain range. But of course that's a variation of, I would say, with several layers of variations on top of these variations. So you lose there a little bit the track to the original theme, which here is very clearly present still. So let me say that I will be looking for a tempo that I can apply for the whole. And so now we are at 72, which is interesting. So what I do now, because I had the impression this tempo worked well for this variation, I'll try the next one with the same. So I'm kind of forcing myself now. What will happen if I stick to this tempo? If it doesn't work, I'll leave it immediately. So this kind of works still here is kind of Mars, so probably not much faster than this. And also if you have jumps like, it's also kind of tempo indicator. Yeah, you can do it much faster if you want, but if you want to release the keys well on the clavichord, like this, or a piano like that, you need some time. These kind of notes, that's magic on the clavichord. It's of course very fine and very little, and we wouldn't, that's a great thing, I think, inserting these works into the big Beethoven cycle, that many people wouldn't associate Beethoven with this very fine. And the clavichord gives really a place for that. It's possible on the piano too, though a 7025 piano or the 1816 Fritz that's coming, those are big machines compared to this. Those are big machines even to the later Walter pianos of the 18th century, which in a way the Walter is what Beethoven had in the time, is very close to the Fritz. Fritz was a student probably from Walter, and you see in the way he shapes his supports for the soundboard and everything, it's so close to Walter, if not really one-to-one. And moreover, it's very close to clavichord building. Not going into detail now, but the sizes of the supports of the soundboard of the Fritz are remarkably close to that of a clavichord. So, now we have still one variation. Oh, this is a nice one. I hate those crossing over hands. Is that G, F sharp, and I hate those low notes, at least to read them. I'm not sight reading now. That's to make clear to you. So if you have questions about sight reading, once this preparation of the Beethoven cycle is finished, I will have time to make mini-series on certain topics you want me to address, like stage fright and sight reading and things like that. I've made a fingering, which is really, really an essential first step in practicing. So once you've done that, you have been diving into this notation and this music, and of course it's not the most complicated music, but anyway, it's so deep that it somehow feels like you have been studying this already. So let's now check this tempo, because this was faster, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's back into the 80s. So we are switching from 70 to 74 to 82. That's too big of a change right now. Maybe later it works, but not now. So let's stick to 72, because that was a tempo. I can imagine the last variation in another tempo. Let's just try that. It's not so much of a difference here. That definitely will work. And so let's just try here some bars, some fragments of different variations, and see if they fit together. So let's forget now about the theme and come back to that. Really beautiful sentence. Works actually also fine here. This is nice to get these possibilities to do something with the right hand in terms of articulation and sound quality. And so I got some questions about what I didn't know was a term for this, like finger pedaling, which means apparently holding some notes longer than actually are written. So Beethoven writes just 8-note triplets here. But don't practice it like a toccata, I mean. Of course, he uses the notation that's there, but for every musician, it is clear in that time that there is a melody that you have to hold, and then you try to build a kind of sound quality out of extract a kind of sound quality out of the instrument that you're playing by holding the notes in a way that gives you more sound, I mean. So also the second one, you can just add a little bit of length to that to add a second voice there. Which is not easy because it needs to follow the dynamic path of the first finger, but anyway. And now this is the one that we had as 784. Let's just try this with the metronome, see if I don't accelerate. See? It's difficult. Easy to play 72. I would have the tendency to do it a little bit faster, but let's try to stick to it for a while. And by the way, if I play with the metronome like that, you'll hear me go off the metronome beat, but that's something I allow myself because you have the stick on the back of your ears or mind, so to come back to that. Of course, music is, and not always, but it's like life, like a heartbeat. It's not really always steady. We don't play like a metronome, so that's not the point of it. So allowing yourself to go a little bit faster, a little bit slower sometimes, it's okay, as long as this line is still there. So you should be able to tell if this is a 72 performance or an 84. That's the whole point. It has these bows. Let's try to make them legato. Rather steady, but still this is a variation that puzzles me a little bit. Well, you can play it like this, and there are elements that point towards this tempo, like for instance the composer wouldn't add ornaments on a group of 4/16, a trill on the first 16, if you want to have a tempo that really goes fast in quarter notes. So it's possible also in 82, but then you have to refrain a little, you have to hold back a little bit more there. of course, this is not so difficult. I'm even below now, 76, so yeah. So people sometimes say, well, you just feel those tempos. I mean, if you feel it differently, just play it differently. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Though you might understand then easily that there is a big chance that what you feel is not the same as Beethoven felt. So also for Beethoven, this was a composition. When he played that, he played his own composition. Obviously, he had something in mind, but he still had to make decisions. So, yeah, he could have written Allegro here, but he didn't. He chose to write Allegretto. So, if we today are not familiar anymore with what exactly is the difference in tempo, character perhaps as well, between an Allegretto and an Allegro, then there is nothing to talk about. And it's really hard. But if you dive into this a little bit more, and there the metronome numbers are of great help. And that's something, of course, you cannot explain or you can say from yourself, but there is a moment where you feel suddenly a difference between an andante and an adagio. Like many adagios today are played, as I feel it, as andantes, and andantes are played as allegrettos, so you have this double up. It's only in the higher range that we top these tempi to below. But allegretto and allegro is different. Allegro is more that. Allegretto still has this a little bit of andante quality. So andante is really a tempo where you would not have this going forward in really strong pulses, but in pulses that are still connected to each other, but have a more steady path, more serious, gentle perhaps as well. Allegretto is in the middle of that. So 72, by the way, you hear Anya, she's working just on her desk. We are recording this during daytime. So, and if you hear some real tick, 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 it's not me, that's Anya typing on her computer, at her computer. So, yeah, you can say, well, I feel allegretto in another way, but of course then you are on a path where, I mean, yeah, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with feeling an allegretto like you feel an allegretto, but then you are in a different universe than when you want to reconstruct what an allegretto was for Beethoven and his contemporaries, and that's not so easy. So if I stick to that 72, it's because I know this tempo, allegretto, would be more in the 72, 76 range than in the 80 range. But not saying that it's not possible to have the 80 range, so hope it all makes sense. 72, let's stick to that because it's my year of birth. Would definitely a perfect tempo. Now triplets. So building this character has to do a lot with accentuation as well. So if you want to try a slower tempo, oftentimes you'll miss some accents, and hence that gives you the impression that your tempo is too slow. Accentuation is key to many things. So here also, I think. So it depends on the quality of that fragment, of that motive in the right hand. If you just play, waiting until something happens, nothing will happen, because for that this musical material is not enough. But if you add some rhetorical aspect to that, suddenly it becomes a story. I like this atmosphere. So I'm 76, 60, no 67. Same tempo as the minore version. So that's in the slower range, I would say, for an allegretto here in this case, but it's still possible. Now, would it be impossible to think of having one variation in 80 and the other in 72? No, certainly not, because it's in the same range. If I now play, if I for instance would play this faster, and would end like this, and now go slower. I make a big contrast now in tempo, but it's possible because then you still have the same feeling, and if you are a musician, you would know a slow down or take another tempo, but still there is, and this is in the same range. So just thinking out loud here, guys. So by the way, this reminds me of the C minor sonata of Mozart. If I can recall now how that tempo is, the last movement. Should have to take it. I doesn't skip it. It's so close that I don't recall that piece. So D Mars. Crescendo here. Here I definitely think I will try to match the tempo of the beginning, because that will give you the reference to the beginning. So if you have at the beginning and a good thing is to remember that variation when you start. So something really a fragment that gives you, that you will play the same every time, over and over again, because it has this definite, it's a special character to it. And so applying that, all the bows are actually there. And also here. So okay, I'll leave it for there. Just go through the last variation, which is Allegro in 2/4. Always be aware 2/4, and at that time it's often 4/8. Not always, but if you see here trills on the second beat, it indicates that. It's so. In many instances, you are better off in counting in 4 than in 8, in 2, I mean. But let's see how it works here. Okay, it's Allegro, so I need to read a little bit more careful here. So you run into some passages where the left hand makes some jumps, and I didn't expect that, so I need to read that more careful. Oops. Let's get this right. What was the name? What was the term? Legato, 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 pedal, 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 and finger pedaling. Finger pedaling. Passage here, like beautiful, difficult on the clavichord. Let's try to make the same tone. So you have here. So that's not good. last page you can tell that Beethoven wrote this probably already on his piano, but for the piano. But it's hard to tell because the distinction that we make today, this A flat major passage is harder to play, and here you have some, well, that's very possible. I should just look at it very slowly now, just to practice the notes. That's possible, but here on the clavichord you have a little bit less prompt sound production than on those early piano photos. There's a little bit of difference, but it depends also on the type of instrument, and it's not so far. Let me rephrase it. If you look back from our time to that time, you could say, well, this fits a little bit better the piano, but still. There are a lot of instances where you could say the other way around, and for them, Beethoven had a clavichord up to late in his life, the end of his days actually. So, might not have been that big of a difference. So this instrument really fits into this period of music. There is actually nothing that you could bring up against that. So, but here, yeah, then sometimes you occur to passages where that would be a little bit easier on the piano. And sometimes I said that the piano said this would be easy on the clavichord. So how do I practice this? It's not so hard, but you have to remember the notes. By the way, presto doesn't mean out of the roof fast. It just means it gives the impression of energetic here. Presto and originally means a little bit faster than allegro. That's everything. Try to sometimes practice in chords, because then you have to find the 4 notes together, which is more difficult and it's easier at the same time. Melody much more. And then the release of my left hand is just to. I want to be on time, but the opposite happens then. So if you want to be on time somewhere, just you have to leave on time. That's a good lesson in life, but that's also really true for keyboard playing. So, releasing is key of everything. After practice, it's always slower. Practicing slower. That's already sounding better. Because that will give this really not nice sound. And maybe here, not holding the note that long is fine. I mean, if you hold the note and then there is tension here because, you know, it's over a wide span, it's a span of an octave playing chord. And on the clavichord you have to use your wrist in the piano effect as well, but you still have sound. On the clavichord you won't have sound anymore. So there's a little bit of tension here, but just releasing then the notes, but attacking them the right way, it's probably enough. faster, because here this bridge is really awkward. He gives piano suddenly. Left hand perhaps a little shorter. Gives both in the right hand, not in the left hand. Hey, suddenly it starts to sound. So, what do you think of this? Not too much. Is the last note here of the group of 4 needs to be released soft, I mean gentle, because otherwise you have an accent. You do, that's really awful. So making the circles here, it's all in my keyboard course. This is a kingmaker of music. That's your wrist. Actually, this is a basic exercise for that. See if I play the notes right. This is an octave actually, which sounds a little bit strange. One note then. This instrument resonates incredibly strong here. Okay, so the tempo of the allegro here. Definitely want to play a full trill here. I make a video on how to play even these octaves kind of legato. It's a suggestion, of course, there's no pedal here. Shouldn't do that on the pianos either with pedaling those notes, but shouldn't do awkward things like making substitutions all over the place. It's just, again, a matter of releasing all in the wrist. I make some things later about this. Cantabile, articulate. flat actually. And then back to C major. So yeah, let me check the time because it's 10:30 here now in the morning in Belgium at the 27th of February 2018, so a day before this goes online. Okay guys, next time will be on Monday, also recorded session at the Frenzel piano with the Sonata in A major, so the second one by Beethoven. It's just first movement, we focus on the first section there. It's a completely new sonata for the channel. I've been playing this for some years now, but never uploaded that because there are some things that actually are very difficult on the clavichord, rather impossible. So with all these tens and things like that, that's a difference in that time period of Beethoven writing for, well, these first sonatas are clearly with the pianoforte in mind. So there he pulls all the stops of his palette, so to say, to be the progressive guy. But here in this is keyboard music, 18th century keyboard music, fits the clavichord well. So that will be the A major sonata, will be the lead for the coming weeks. On those practicing sessions, then I will still record this week one practicing session for you on Thursday next week. Don't know yet what, probably the Opus 49 number 1, second movement, the sonata that we did G minor. We did first movement last week. And then the Wednesday videos, they will be the recorded ones as we speak. So alternatively, one where I speak about something and then I record a piece. When I will come back, I will start to record the Etudes series. Will be probably on Fridays for the coming years. I mean, one etude every Friday, but I want to combine that with some playlist of some shorter videos on tempo, that when people accidentally fall on one of those pieces, they have escape option, so to say, to find some background information on that. So I'm planning to do something more on that as a unity first, and still the piano needs to be more stable in tuning, especially this octave, which lacks on the clavichord, and that's the 6th octave on that piano. It's hard to tune. That's all for after 15th of March, those plans, because that's our deadline for the Beethoven project, applying for some grants, hopefully here in Belgium, cultural grants, and that would help enormously for this project. Anyway, hope you liked the session. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. The chat is available for those of you who see this in the replay later, but it's not copied in the comment section, which is actually kind of normal. And I thank my Patreons as always, because we reached almost a number of 90 patrons, so I wish we could go to 100 this year. That would be awesome, and even surpass that number. So just throwing in $1 a month makes a lot of difference actually here. As we speak, our patrons from patreon.com, there's a link below. They are the backbone of what we are doing, seriously. So I appreciate if you just have 1 minute time, go there and check it out. And for now, have a nice day and see you soon again. Bye.